Okay, so what I thought I would do is make a recording to show sort of how this would look using the grid that you've got in front of you from your notes. So I'm using an exemplar from the auction scene from Get Out. So first question, what is happening in this part of the scene? So what is happening here is that we are cutting from Chris and Rose sitting by the water to Dean in the auction scene. Describe a technique that appears. So the first technique that appears is a camera movement in terms of the camera technique of zooming out. We see that when the camera zooms from like close to Dean's face when he's standing on the rotunda, and it zooms out, and so we can start to see his hands, which are making like gestures as to the amount that he's selling Chris for at the auction. And we can also see a picture of Chris sitting behind on the rotunda gazebo thing. What does this technique help to show? So this is where I take it from my middle column. This helps to show Dean's character. Firstly, it shows that he's kind of creepy and evil and untrustworthy because he is doing the gestures and he is selling Chris. But the zoom helps to sort of show that because it builds this tension, because it's really slow the way that it zooms out. So it kind of builds mystery. So it goes from just seeing his face where he looks normal to seeing his hands and then seeing Chris' picture, and it makes a really like creepy feeling. And as an audience, it feels kind of scary and a little bit uncertain because we kind of don't know what's happening there. So then the effect of that is it makes us kind of feel untrustworthy or untrusting of the family, because suddenly we can see that Dean is not who we thought he was and something weird's going on there. So it's like our first exposure to what's going on is this camera zooming out. What is another technique that director uses? Describe that technique. So this is coming back to my green column here. Another technique used at the same time is sound through the use of soundtrack, which is non-diegetic. We can hear like string kind of orchestra music, and it's sort of low at first, but like it gets louder and more like high pitched, like sudden high pitched sounds when we see the camera zooming out and when Dean makes like gestures or hand movements and increases the amount on his hands. How does this technique work together with the first one? So I've put my notes in the middle there next to it just to make it a bit easier. So the use of the sound, it kind of adds to that scary feeling because it's sort of slow and creepy and a bit unsettling. And so when it matches the movements and it matches the sort of pace of the zooming, it all works together to make this really uncomfortable feeling and make us feel really suspicious of the Armitage family. So it works together at that moment to reinforce how creepy and surreal and not right the situation is. What is the director's purpose? So I think the director's purpose in this part of the scene through these techniques is to make us think about how easily we can be tricked, and that things aren't always as they first appear. Because we would have thought that from earlier in the film, Dean's character was liberal because he keeps talking about Obama and how much he respects Obama and would have voted for him a third time if he could. So he seems super liberal and like accepting and like welcomes Chris in. But then here now we've got this really uncertain feeling about him. So I think Jordan Peele's trying to show us that we can't always trust people, and also we can't always trust that people what they say they are, and you know that white people can say that they're not racist, but then they could be doing things like that. So maybe that's sort of like a fake thing or a facade. Why does this part of the what does this part of the scene make you feel? So I guess ultimately it makes you feel sort of betrayed because we'd kind of seen Dean in such a positive and good life previously, light, but now we see him sinister and evil, and at the same time as all of this, there's like a low angle shot going on, and so he makes it look, yeah, really like ominous and powerful, and he's in control, but it sort of links to later in the film when we can see that what he's actually doing is taking their brains. So I at this stage, we don't know that, so we just feel kind of betrayed and upset because of that, but also sort of nervous because we don't completely know what's going on. We can kind of see an auction, we can see that it's for Chris, but we don't really know what's going on. So it sort of just helps to build the suspense and tension and mystery and make us feel really uncomfortable. Cool. So you just do that a couple of times. Ta-da!